And okay, there we go. Well, it's a small group, but welcome to our March monthly guild meeting. Thank you for joining. And to start the meeting and to kick it off, I just wanted to say thank you to everyone who volunteered at PAX or stopped by at PAX East. It was a huge success, and whether you stopped by to chit chat or volunteered, or in Andrew's case, worked without being on the schedule, we greatly appreciate everything and anything that y'all were able to do. And just one of the many reasons that the Boston Guild is the best guild in the nation. So I just wanted to put that out there as a first quick note. But I think we have a couple of reminders that we'll start off with, going into the meeting. Yeah, Dan, first guild, best guild. Stand by that. Yeah. First reminder is that we do have Anime Boston approaching in 2 weeks. So if you're interested in signups, I believe that Sean said that the signups will close tonight. So if you're interested, please check that out on the Facebook. And then Greg, I don't know if you have anything to add about Anime Boston, but just that was just a quick reminder about signing up. But
Yeah, the sign up link should also be present in Discord for I know some people do one and not the other, and vice versa. So it should be present in both places. I made sure to pin it in the announcements channel in Discord, so it should be easy to find there as well.
okay. And then the second reminder that I want to put out there, well, I guess we have more than two, but the second reminder that I'm going to put out there is that we have the kickoff on May 19th, 2023. So I sent out the save the date on Facebook and Discord last week. But this is just for preliminary, so you can put it on your calendars. I don't have a date set, or not a date, I don't have a time set quite yet. But as of right now, I'm looking at 3 to 5 p.m. on that Friday. Realistically, I have the auditorium booked for the entirety of the day, but I know that I definitely don't want to ask anyone to take an entire day off of work. So with that in mind, we're looking at the afternoon of that Friday. Yes, May 19th. So if you were present at the kickoff last year, we're going to structure it a little differently. Andrew, what was your question?
So my brain just went, woof. This is about the kickoff, and we're doing it in the afternoon, right?
In the what?
As my train of thought crashed. There was no survivors when you were talking, and so this is regarding the kickoff event, right?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
So the kickoff will be May 19th, looking at 3 to 5 p.m. Unlike last year, we're not going to offer a virtual and an in-person option. So the kickoff will be solely in person. We will record it and upload it to our YouTube page about a week later, but we won't be running it via Zoom how we did last year. So that's the slight change in structure and how it will be offered. But then on top of that, we're going to kind of restructure how we run the event from how we did it last year. So last year was my first kickoff, so it was kind of just like running into the wind with no knowledge of anything and what a best practice would be. So going into this year, I think we're going to focus more on doing like a 1-hour presentation, and that'll include a presentation about the hospital, hopefully a guest speaker. Last year we had one of our patient tech specialists, and then we'll have a best practices portion. So we'll have somebody talking about how best practices on recruiting, best practices on fundraising, best practices on how to stream, maybe some best practices on certain games. If there are certain games that everybody can agree that you're into and you would love to learn tips and tricks. For example, if somebody wanted to get into Minecraft, I would nominate Dan to talk about Minecraft. So we'll do that, and then we'll also have our award portion. And then following that, we'll open up the floor for hospital tours and also for a gaming opportunity. So we'll have We'll have like basic tabletop games, nothing that takes super long because we'll be just playing those while others are on the hospital tours, but maybe things like card games. I know we have giant Jenga at the hospital, and a couple of things similar to that. And then following that hour, then hopefully doing a social meetup outside of the hospital. So this will all be in the hospital, and then hopefully doing like either dinner or drinks or something like that, more of like a social meetup for those who maybe can't make it to the kickoff, but can make it after hours, after work hours. And that can either be planned, at a restaurant in Fenway, or if we wanted to go to a gaming place such as like Arcade, which is behind Roxy's in Cambridge, or Spin versus Kings. Basically any places up for grabs, but that's just my general thoughts on like post-hospital event. Sean, did you have a question?
Yeah, so I just had a thought. You were talking about like kind of first off, I will not be able to make it. I'm gonna be out of town that week, unfortunately. So big sad. But
Cheers.
you were talking about doing things like best practices for certain games and stuff like that. Did you mean like fundraising and how to tie those in? Because I think that would be a great thing.
Like, you mean like how to do like tabletop games and how to fundraise through that way? Or could you maybe be a little bit more specific on what you think? Because originally I was thinking like just best practice on like games. Like, you know how some people are experts at certain games, and so you could, I don't know, maybe learn how like a special trick or something, or a different way to play the game strategically. But I think your thought is a better idea than what I was suggesting.
I would say, if I could just respond to that, that was I went to the kickoff last year, and that was the biggest takeaway for me, was just talking to other extra lifers, and and just kind of hearing other thoughts of like, how can you fundraise through different games and stuff like that, and how can you make it exciting, and how can you tie it in. That was hugely beneficial, and it resulted in my best fundraising year ever. So and that's wholly tied to just being at the kickoff and talking to other folks. So if we could boost that, I think that would be great for everyone.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. I know that like best practices, obviously, I can sit here and talk about best practices that I have as like a professional fundraiser. But I think that my fundraising day-to-day life does look significantly different than everybody else's fundraising experience. I'm not playing tabletop games and fundraising, I'm putting like ask out there and everything. So I definitely think that it's very important to highlight each other's experiences and what you've had success with. I did say we could also do something like that during one of these meetings as a separate. Yeah, I think that's a good idea. I think these meetings, like these monthly meetings, started off as a way for us all to connect and be more involved with Extra Life, and get maybe other people that might not necessarily be as involved in like the Discord or the Facebook, to be like involved and to have that social aspect that maybe we've been missing with like due to COVID. But I think that since this is a relatively new concept, we can definitely work fluidly to make it to adjust it to what our needs are. So we can definitely incorporate like roundtable discussions and best practices and stuff into these meetings as well. Okay, let me write your note down, Sean, so I don't forget it. Greg, go ahead.
So several conflicting thoughts running through my head at the moment, as far as kind of furthering Dan's idea. Do we want to make it part of the meetings, or do we want to make it its own separate entity? I'm a little on the fence over which is more effective. Perhaps it's worth a poll in both the Discord and the Facebook.
I think what if we did, because I think my fear is I never want to ask too much of anybody. I get that this is on a volunteer basis. You all are involved in Extra Life because you're passionate about it and you want to benefit your local children's hospital. So I think I am always fearful of asking too much because I don't want this to impede too much on your personal time. So if we think that, it wouldn't be just another meeting for people, we can definitely do a separate one. But I think alternatively, we could make it where the last half of this, so this is an hour-long meeting, we can do 30 minutes of like recaps, announcements, stuff like that, and have the latter 30 addressing like best practices.
Sounds reasonable.
I don't know if anybody else wants to share thoughts on that, and what you think would be sustainable in the long run.
Personally, I think I would very much prefer if they were a separate meeting, just because then it would be easier to kind of schedule people to talk about and that would accommodate that, because we don't get a whole lot of people here, right? Generally, to these meetings, as I understand it.
Right.
So,
not to mention,
Oh,
to
can you hear me?
build off what Tim, you're a robot, but not to mention what Tim was saying. To build off of that, we could also make an announcement in the socials about, hey, this Friday night at 7, we're gonna have a roundtable about best practices of tabletop or best practices of Minecraft, or fill in the game or genre here. That way these meetings are set to like guild business, and then we have the extra meetings, the extra stuff for those who want to participate in it. That we can take care of guild business here, and then have the practice meetings elsewhere.
Yeah. Sean. Hope you're
It's
muted.
Yeah. I think there's a couple of ways that, that we can go about it, right? I think that, in terms of like actually having a meeting and a discussion, I think it makes sense to kind of, focus that conversation, right? So I think the kickoff is a great time to do that. It could also be something that we revisit leading up to game day, right? So, as you're planning your game day, August, September, October, somewhere in there in that run up, right? Hey, how are you going to fundraise? Let's all talk about, our best tips, our best practice, things that you can take and bring your campaign to the next level. The other thing too is this could be something that is well suited for Discord. Discord has a forum feature now where you can basically create individual threads, right? So you can create a channel that contains these sort of big threads. And so you could have a thread for Minecraft, for tabletop, and have these individual compartmentalized discussions where folks are posting their best practices. And then when it comes around time to have one of these meetings, we, grab all those, and maybe not just even present those at a meeting. Maybe we could even make a guide we put out on the Facebook page too, for folks who aren't engaging at that level. You can say, hey, it's coming up, right? If you didn't make our meeting, or come to the meeting and here's the guide, right? Some form of that, choose your own adventure as to how you'd like to consume that, right? But yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. I think, and Dan, you're also pointing out really great idea or like thoughts that there are advantages and disadvantages to both. I definitely think that our core group of volunteers definitely wouldn't mind more meetings, but for the people who are a little less involved, I think even getting them to one meeting, would be a celebration, so I do agree that maybe we can do meetings, and also, John, to your point, make the Discord sub channels. What are they called? Or the Discord threads. I don't have
Forums.
the ability to make forums. I don't have the ability to like do any of that because I'm not an admin on Discord. But maybe
Sure.
maybe one of the admins can.
Just to put it out there as well, if any of the folks who in leadership, want to help organize the Discord and stuff like that, that's something I've done before for other groups that I've been a part of. So happy to raise a hand and, help provide suggestions and help, get that all structured out if that's something that help is needed with.
And then as far as Yeah, I agree. And Discord best practices. I'm actually in a server that Tim, I think you invited me to it. It's like a community managers Discord server that I've seen a couple of like tips and tricks and stuff on for Discord. But then speaking of like a document, right? Angela and I were talking about this today. Talking about like a document where we have best practices and we have just like a guide to Extra Life benefiting Boston Children's Hospital. You know, I think that one thing that I think about when people are joining is they join, they get the welcome letter, they get the welcome letter and all of that. And it's like, oh, welcome to Extra Life. We're so excited to have you here. Join our socials. And then after that, you know, it's kind of up to each individual to figure out how do you fundraise? How do you stream? How do you recruit? How do they do all of these things? And I think that in my mind that seems really daunting. And I could see where there would be a disconnect between those who are signing up and those who are veterans to Extra Life, you know, and trying to merge the gap of how do we make it an easier transition for our newbies to become veterans. So I've created a document, and let me share my screen really quick. It's not super long, and I hope that everybody can see this. It's not super long yet, but just talks about like, okay, oh, it says Zoom quit. Okay. It gives like a
For anyone else?
hi there.
F.
So sorry. I feel like this happens every month during our meetings. My computer just quits. So back to what I was sharing. I have a document where it has like a slew of different resources. So we have just a brief paragraph about what Extra Life is. We have the impact of Extra Life at Boston Children's Hospital, a little bit about what game day is, Extra Life Boston by the numbers. And then it has direct links to things such as our landing pages. So the Nationals landing page, the Boston landing page. Then we go into how you can bring Extra Life into work. So like Boston Children's Hospital, like join Extra Life, you know, like, I don't know, just talking when if you want to approach your company or a different company about getting Extra Life involved at the workplace. And then this is not the document I thought it was, but I'm like pulling up the other document. Okay, this is the document that I actually wanted to share with you, but good thing the beginning is the exact same. Fast facts about Boston Children's Hospital. So when you're talking to people, you can touch on these things and they're general statements, but there are also more detailed number statements about Boston Children's Hospital. Game day. Links to all of our social channels. So Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Twitch, Discord, and YouTube. Social media assets. So I've spent many hours creating a lot of Canva templates for people to utilize on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, basically any social platform that you could think of. So I have all of those linked here. Zoom background, everything. Virtual resources. So again, our landing pages, the Boston Children's Hospital Extra Life fundraising resources specifically. So we have a toolkit built out for all of our gamers that has Zoom backgrounds, Twitch overlays, videos for you to post on your social accounts, all of that. And then more general toolkits that CMN provides. And then some connection to cause resources. So we have like our YouTube page, the asset library from Nationals, our Child Life Services Facebook account, and all of that. And then I'm working on building in best practices into that. So this is where I'm going to open it up and say, if you have a best practice, whether it's fundraising, recruiting, a social media best practice, streaming best practice, anything you can think of, please send it my way and I will make sure to include it in the best practice portion of this. And this will get all like doctored up to be to speed with branding and all of that, but this is just my like rough draft version of what it's going to look like. Tim, I saw that you were raising your hand.
Yeah, I do have a question in terms of because this was originally, the idea of doing the best practices chats was originally brought up as part of meetings. So we've been talking about it as very internal. But the way that some of the stuff that you've been saying, I was just wondering, would we want to prioritize in like live interaction, or would we want to prioritize accessibility? Because if we want to prioritize accessibility, there's a lot of people that just don't come to the meetings or don't connect with the social media right away and stuff like that. Would it be easier if the best practices was done as like a newsletter or a chat show or something like that, that like is just somewhere not in Discord and not in Zoom, but somewhere we can just point people to, or they could subscribe to, or things like that?
Yeah, so we actually have the communicator that goes out monthly to all Boston extra lifers. So anybody who's signed up to anybody who's like signed up to benefit Boston Children's Hospital gets a monthly communicator for me. And that's not only just people who are registered, but we also send them out to like lapsed participants. So people who have participated previously but have not re-registered yet. So we do send that out monthly. And I do include like when we were doing the advisory board applications, that link was in it. When we do any surveys, that link is always in there. Our Discord link is in there. All of our social links are included in that. But on top of that, I think that I send usually at least one email per month. I try to like send any, whether it's like fundraising documents or incentive reminders or anything like that. So I think when this is put out, it'll be definitely available on like Facebook, Discord. But I think also there will be an email sent out with it included. And eventually, this is not something that I have access to, but our digital team manages our our Boston Children's Hospital Extra Life website. So once it is built out completely, this is definitely something that they'll also add to our our toolkit page. But I think that's a great question, because I agree, not a lot of people. I think the communicator open rate is anywhere between 19 to 36 people. So even with email, people don't really open or read them. So I could definitely say the same for like Discord and Facebook. I do think that that's something that I would love to work on in the future, is engagement from our extra lifers, both on like all of our social channels, but also like with emails, because a lot of times emails have like interesting information, whether it's about a kickoff or an incentive being offered or something like that. Dan, I think that's a good idea for like a website for the guild, but I also think it could be counterintuitive and like just a little like slightly excessive, since we have our like Boston Children's Hospital website for Extra Life. I think it could get confusing to when we're talking to maybe people who have never been a part of Extra Life before, as to like what website should they go to? Do they go to like the official website, or do they go to the like guild website? And I think it's the same. I mean, that's like my view also on like additional emails or things like that. It's like, I think slightly confusing, because it's like, do they go to the hospital official page or email, or versus like a non-official one? I think to keep things streamlined, I would prefer if there were just one like website. Okay, cool. Well, again, if you have any, oh, Andrew, sorry.
I don't know the exact metrics. I don't know if anyone new to the Facebook group, but I do know for a fact that we have at least, I think it's 4 new members of the Discord, and I think one of the reasons why they're not here is because it's kind of last minute, especially for the new people to the Discord. And the cards that Angela made work out great with the link tree and all that. And yeah, she's not here. They're not here tonight, but credit to her.
Yeah, I think that those business cards were super successful this con. This was the first time, I think, and I don't know if maybe before I was here that the guild had business cards, but I do think that those were a huge success this weekend. Go ahead, Sean. Sorry.
Yeah, so just to tack on to what I was saying in the chat there, I think, you know, I see the point about having like multiple different sources of truth and stuff like that. I think the issue with using you know, the BCH site, and correct me if I'm wrong, it seems like that's kind of sort of set in stone, right? Like it's a blog functionality there that I don't know if you have access to that, but it's like it's kind of immutable, right? There's not a lot you can really do to customize that BCH site or anything, right? So as with the link tree, I think there could be some benefit to having a guild site where, you know, I mean, that's the benefit of link tree, right? Is we have all these different platforms, but how do you find them all, right? So having a central place to say, okay, if you want to learn more about BCH, go here. If you want to learn more about signing up for Extra Life and, you know, how to do that, here's a little guide and here's where you go in that direction. If you want to join us on Discord, here's how you go here, right? So I think the nice thing about, you know, the idea of having a guild website is it's something that we can maintain, change, you know, make our own, customize, rethink, without having to kind of color within the lines of like what BCH gives. It's just a thought. You know, you wouldn't want to put too much stuff there. You'd want to kind of keep it a place that is, you know, sort of a digital signpost, right? Where you are pointing folks to the other resources, because there are many of them, as you pointed out, right? But I think there could be some benefit to that. You know, for when you have somebody who is saying, how do I get started? What do I do? Where do I go? What do I do? How do I head down this road? One source of truth. Here you go. Right.
Yeah.
Just a thought.
Yeah. I think like my thoughts, so we like our Extra Life website is one of the many sites that lives like on my team for CMN within children's. And we revisit this website a couple times a year and go through what should be added on here. Do we need anything? So I actually have it on my to-do list to send our digital team that I want like our social handles included on the website, because right now they're not on there. And I don't think that's something that I noticed until I believe somebody pointed out last meeting. So there's things like that where we do have control over what our website does look like. But I think for the sake of also like branding, I know that to me, like I think keeping everything like consistent with the Boston Children's Hospital branding and also the Extra Life branding, because I think realistically, like we could get in trouble for like kind of like skewing away from what we're like, I think legally supposed to do. So I think in my mind, I'm like, definitely I want to try to keep everything like on brand and following those like standard guidelines. So I think that would be one of my main concerns with having a digital website, and then also upkeeping it, just because I know that there definitely are people who would volunteer to upkeep it. But I think thinking in the long run, you know, is that something sustainable? Is that something that we're always going to be able to have and to be able to upkeep? So those are just my thoughts, but go ahead, John.
Is that the is that the bostonchildrens.org/extra life page that you're talking about that your team maintains?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. I've never seen that. I wonder if, you know, so if you have full control of that, that's great, because that means obviously you can add stuff to that. Maybe it could be a thing where we have our cake and eat it too, where, you know, it's one thing to say, okay, go to you know, discord.gg/whatever our link is, but it's another thing to have a link tree, right? What if, yeah, so what, you know, we could use the an Extra Life team page, or if we got like a separate domain that then just redirects to this page, right? So instead of saying go to bostonchildrens.org/extra life, you know, something simpler, you know, something simpler, shorter, quicker that, you know, that we can throw at folks. Again, just a thought.
Yeah. Andrew, did you have your hand
Actually,
raised?
yeah, I did. To build off of what Sean was saying, as we are a part of a charity, our Discord link, our Discord invite link anyway. Because I do know that our Discord, Discord does things for charities. Like they provide let me just see. Yeah, our Discord link is something. But Discord does provide free I think it's free. Whoever it is will have to check it out. But they provide like free branding, if you will, for charity. Like it could be discord.gg/ELB or actually like Boston or something.
What is it now, Andrew?
It's a random one.
Okay.
Unless there's like a standard link that I don't know about.
Yeah, I don't know, and Greg, maybe you can speak more on this since you've been a part of the program for longer, but I don't know if that's something that we've looked into before or if that's something new. Oh,
Yeah, there are some, I believe they're called community features in Discord, and like Dan says, we need to hit certain minimum user thresholds before that unlocks to us. There may be some charity specific things the Discord offers. I don't know off the top of my head. I only know what's available through the app itself, which is, like I said, that those community settings. It's certainly worth a little bit of extra research to see if there is anything charity specific, but the generic community settings, again, like Dan said, have a minimum threshold that you have to meet first.
okay. Well, I can definitely look into it and see if it's something that that we can nail down and get applied to our Discord. I know that we've been able to get like a couple of things like specialized since we're nonprofit, so I could definitely look into the Discord option for that. And maybe there's an application process. I think with Canva, it was an application process that you have to go through, so I can definitely look into that and see what steps need to be taken. But I think that's a good idea and a nice catch, Andrew. Okay, I don't think I have a ton of anything else to talk about, a ton left. The only other thing I would say is that Extra Life United is next week. We do have 4 individuals who will be gaming for Boston Children's Hospital. So Dan is participating in the Minecraft competition. Huge sleigh right there, Dan. I applaud you for that. And then we'll have 3 gamers who will be in person next week in Orlando. So I'm going to send, I don't believe either of them are in the Discord yet. And the other one is my partner who just joined the Discord today. So I'm going to reach out to the other 2 and try to get them connected in the Discord. That way we can cheer everyone on and show our support from New England down to Orlando. And then maybe we can I know some PDs do like meetups virtually during ELU with their guild, just to do like a virtual game night to make it like more inclusive. So if that's of if that's of interest, we can definitely do that. Greg, he's actually in the background, so we can yell at him now that you need to put something in the intro, like the intro channel.
Get in. Let there shall be known to us.
But we can maybe do a virtual game night next week if that's of interest to people. I think one of the West Coast PDs told me that they do that with their guild. And I know last year was my first year, so I was kind of like running everywhere because I think it was my second week that I went to ELU. But I'll put something in the Discord about that. Oh, also, okay, this is imperative that everybody knows this. I did order a onesie today because Tuesday night of ELU is movie night under the stars. And I thought no better way to rep my guild and my Extra Life program than to be in a onesie for onesie funsie. So this is what I ordered today because I spend my money very wisely, but I ordered this, this onesie so I could be like the alien from the claw machine in Toy Story. And probably smothering heat. It's probably gonna be like 90 degrees. So I'm gonna be sweating so much inside of this, but I don't even care. Just trying to be cool, you know? But so we'll have those gamers down there. So let's definitely try to cheer them on. I'm not sure how much money is up for grabs, but everything that they play at ELU will go towards Boston Children's Hospital and our Extra Life Total. So fingers crossed that we win some tournaments, or we at least come in the top 3. I did see in the national Discord server that not only could we secure funds through the tournament play, but there would be additional opportunities, I think, from just like random games throughout the week. So let's all cross our fingers and toes and maybe carry a 4-leaf clover in our pocket. Yeah, damn the claw. So I think that is a huge thing coming up. And then I don't think we have anything else aside from like ELU, Anime Boston, and the kickoff coming up. Greg, do you have any major events on the top of your head? Or Sean, do you have anything on top of your head that I think is imperative to announce?
I mean, just the fact that we're closing Anime Boston signups this week. So that's it. I want to get them a list of people and get the shifts finalized by probably Friday.
I had a thought earlier, back to the kickoff for a minute. I'm going to personally offer, and I'd like to get together a group of people who are similarly minded to try to organize carpools and ride sharing from the further flung reaches to make it a little easier for those who can't make it to the kickoff get in. Like, for example, I will gladly scoop up anybody from the southern New Hampshire area and bring them down. I'll put a post in the Facebook and the Discord to further that, but I wanted to get that bug in as many people's ears as possible to just try to make it as easy as possible for everyone who wants to get down there.
Yeah, I think that's a fantastic idea, Greg. And I think to top that off, we will be validating parking for the event. So no need to worry about paying $52 parking because I will validate it. I know that's ridiculous. I refuse to even pay that. So yeah, so I think that's a fantastic note to make, Greg. And the one last thing I have is to remind everyone about the national incentive. I feel like this is on everybody's mind. And if you haven't already had an anonymous donor donate to your page, this is your reminder that if you're a platinum participant, to get to hustling and bustling to win that awesome mouse pad. I believe it ends on April 8th, but it is also limited to the first 1,000 participants that raise $100. And then for anyone who wasn't at PAX, we did get 2 Dell monitors donated to us from a very kind developer based out of Germany. So big applause to him. So we will be utilizing that as an incentive for the beginning of April. So please watch out for that. I believe the incentive will look a little like for every $25 that you raise, you'll get 1 chance to win one of the monitors. So keep an eye out for that. I believe we'll probably run it at the beginning of April. But if there are no other questions, we can open it up to social hour and where people can chit chat and talk.
Well, actually, I do have a question.
Yeah.
And well, this is for maybe Greg or Sean or anyone else that's worked in Boston. So at PAX, we've kind of had the do you like games? Like you don't spend a lot of money angle. And in Boston, we really don't have that angle. So what are we looking at as far as like normal interaction? Like normal being a phrase that is the only one I can come up with.
So honestly, the pitch doesn't change a ton outside of PAX. PAX just streamlines it because you don't really have to qualify it by making sure you're talking to somebody who is some form of gamer like you do at other conventions, because obviously you're with your target audience there. But at a show like Anime Boston or like Fan Expo, where you get all kinds of people who are interested in different things, typically I will literally just add a single sentence on the beginning of the pitch and open with, hey, have you heard of Extra Life? Are you, do you play games at all, or are you a gamer? Sometimes are you a gamer can people will interpret as 20 hours a week, competitive online play, yada yada yada. And we obviously that's not the standard that you have to meet. You just have to enjoy games. So just leading with, hey, do you enjoy playing games? Can start to weed out the folks who are just there for anime, for example. But really, it doesn't change the core interaction much. You just need to qualify it at the beginning so that you don't waste anybody's time. That's all.
And I think maybe this can be related back to our first guild meeting when we talked. Do you remember when we talked about all the different cons and how we thought that it would be really beneficial to go to like a Renaissance fair, or maybe oh, did Andrew leave? Okay, well, for anybody else who okay, there we go. But I think it could be
Sorry, I
beneficial.
crashed.
That's okay. I think it'd be beneficial to maybe remember a conversation from, I think it was January's guild meeting when we talked about all the various cons that we could attend.
Yep.
But thinking of, it doesn't always just have to be gamers, right? Like and obviously the whole idea of Extra Life is to game for good. But I think looking at it at like these individuals who are super into anime and may not be conventionally into gaming could definitely still be passionate about fundraising for Boston Children's Hospital, and maybe their passion doesn't lie in gaming, like how some of our individuals only do cosplay and that's their version of gaming. So maybe we can take a spin on it like that and recruit some awesome people who may not conventionally fit our mold of like Extra gamers.
Yeah, we could
Oh.
also add to the pitch. Do you game? Do you stream? Because there's a lot of folks too that are streaming and doing things online that might not be traditional gaming anymore, right? So
Right.
keep that in mind as well.
It's my pitch at any time, and Greg knows it, most people know, is you plan on playing any games between now and the end of the year. Would you like to raise money for sick kids while doing it? Let's talk.
Yeah, I think really worked out well. Another thing that I think really worked out well is having like one hype man or hype person, I should say, in the kind of the center and bringing the crowd in and being like, my friend Greg is available, my friend Tim, my friend Sean, what have you.
I think, isn't that what I did last time I was at PAX East? I think that's what we did, and it did really well. You're good. Yeah, it actually worked really, really well.
When was the last time you were at PAX East, Simon?
A year or two back. It was the year where we kind of broke the records of getting signups.
That'd probably yeah. Simon, you sound very
You sound like a malfunctioning AI.
Not surprising. I'm driving in my car.
So, Greg, you have to confirm, but I don't think we did that well last year. I think you might be thinking about PAX 20.
Andrew, I thought that you did a fantastic job this past weekend being the hype man, because you were just standing at the front like, hey, you, I like your costume. Hey, you, do you Extra Life? Do you game? You were like pulling people in just by being like happy and positive and loud and proud to be an Extra Lifer. And I think that worked so
Being loud is something I have never had an issue with. Being loud is something I've never had an issue with. People have had an issue with me being loud, but I've never had an issue with it.
Shame? What's that? We don't have it.
Okay. Cool.
But yeah, that worked out very well, and it got a lot of interest. And I don't know if I think most of you saw the numbers from the con where it was 151 people. We only got 151 people. Normally, I remember before PAX, we would get that. You'd get those on a single day. But yeah, we're doing it without the app, and it's a full-on sign-up thing now. So yeah,
and I think that even though we didn't get the same numbers as we might have pre-COVID, I think it's important to note that there aren't as many of us now, but that we're making, like, we are doing groundbreaking work. We are achieving numbers that we've never achieved before. We fundraised the highest amount this past year in 2022 than what we ever have before. And there was one year where we had 1,700 gamers registered for Extra Life benefiting Boston Children's Hospital. And this year we had 800, and we hit the highest number like ever. So, you know, I think it's important to note that even though it can be disheartening to see that like registrations and signups are down, I don't think that that should be used to discredit yourselves as like fundraisers and rock stars for Boston Children's, you know?
So I can get up on my soapbox on this subject a little bit as kind of the guy who works the closest with the volunteers here. I've had kind of a couple of days to ponder it and really solidify my thoughts about PAX. So let's take a look at the last 3 years, right? This year, last year, and then 2020. Yeah, because we had one right before the pandemic hit. So right before the pandemic, we had our record-breaking year. We had, 1,080 signups. I don't even remember what the donation totals were, but we cracked 4 digits, and it was a phenomenal year number-wise. Bye, Devin. Have a good night. Thanks for coming by. And then we shut down for a couple of years due to the pandemic. And during the pandemic, we lost, for good or for ill, we lost a lot of our core. We had a lot of folks who would show up to at least PAX, but a lot of the other events as well, who had a lot of experience, who had a lot of familiarity with the process, with the pitch, with the talk, with how to draw people in and how to manage a crowd like PAX, because it's kind of a unique beast. It doesn't really flow and function like any other convention just due to the quantity of people. And despite that, we did fairly well on paper for ourselves last year. I've heard several sources quote that PAX last year had about 25% of its usual attendance, and we managed to sign up 250 people. So, I mean, if you run the ratio, you run the numbers, we were still kind of on pace for our pre-pandemic numbers, just based on the number of attendees. And we scraped it together with, for lack of a better word, a skeleton crew. This year we had more people in attendance at PAX. I haven't seen hard numbers, but there were definitely more people in attendance at the show than there were last year. But our numbers at the end of the day were lower than last year, which, as Bree said, is initially can be disheartening, but shouldn't be. And I've finally been able to kind of wrap my brain around why. And we're building. See you later, Tim. Thanks for dropping by. We're building back this core, right? We've got a lot of new faces this year, a lot of folks who are not just new to PAX, but new to volunteering for events, period. And that's, I think, a testament to doing that well with folks who have never volunteered, have never done the pitch. I'll get to you in just a moment, Andrew. And have never had to manage the PAX crowd specifically, which is a challenge and a beast unto itself. So I think the fact that we were able to be so successful with so many brand new faces, and my heart is warmed by how much potential I see in all of these new faces, adding to the current wonderful core we have. I can see a road laid out in front of us to accrue to rival or even surpass the pre-pandemic guild. We have a lot of new passionate people and a lot of people who are not afraid to put themselves out there and to work really hard at a show like PAX, because at the end of the day, it is hard work. It might be a lot of fun, but you got to bust your buns. So just kind of my not so condensed thoughts on PAX and numbers and why everybody who participated should honestly deserve a round of applause. And we're on our way to something special.
But for Greg, I'm in the PAX group on Facebook, and I also follow PAX on Twitter. And not Twitter, well, on Twitter and on Reddit, and 3 of the 4 days were sold out, and the 4 days were sold out. So Friday, Saturday, and Sunday sold out, as well as the 4-day passes. And so it was a lot of people. And also, if I'm not mistaken, last year we had the app, or at least we had the tablets last year. We didn't?
No, last year was the first year we had to run PAX entirely by signing up on the website. The pre-pandemic show, we had the app still.
Last year we had 2 tablets, but they were mostly used for like online donations and not, I think maybe we took a few signups, but not many.
Yeah, we were signing people up on the tablets, but it was still the process of going through the sign up website. It's the same process, just on a tablet instead of on a phone. So it same difference basically.
I can see losing that tool hurting our ability to quick sign people up and get them rolling.
I think that CMN had said that we were the only guild to use the app.
Wait, what?
Their loss.
Seriously? The only one?
Great technology.
I am honestly flabbergasted about that. But yeah, yeah, I think we did really good. And though we on like the Penny Wars, that worked out very well.
Yeah.
Also, out of curiosity, that big like glow sign thing, that the backlight that we had, is that ours or is that Nationals that they brought with them?
So Nationals sends me a specific convention kit for PAX East and PAX East only. And then I have to send it back after PAX. But they only send it because PAX East is technically, because PAX East is so large, it is considered like a national opportunity, such as like TwitchCon and PAX West, whereas Anime Boston, Fan Expo, stuff like that, are more of like regional, local cons. So we provide our own like convention kit.
Yeah, maybe space wouldn't be appropriate for that kind of a setup anyways.
To be fair, we're getting a slightly different location this year, so it's neither here nor there. We're not getting it either way, but the setup might look different this year.
Yeah, our setup at Anime Boston's literally going to be in a walkway in the gaming area on the first floor, one of the main ballrooms. Not, I shouldn't say ballroom, whatever the main areas. They moved a lot of stuff around there, so we're actually in the main big arena area, but I think off to one of the sides is all now gaming. So we'll be in the area with a lot of gamers and whatnot. So the pitch shouldn't have to change all that much. But you will probably still get a lot of people floating through there who aren't gamers that you'll have to probably preface them with how Greg suggested.
We're not going to be in a space where we're going to be dealing with all the DDR machines and everything like we did that one year. I know.
No, I think this gaming arena is a little bit more. It's a little bit more tabletop, it seems, by the way the layout is, and I can't guarantee that there won't be loud, obnoxious DDR machines and stuff like that in one part of it. But we'll, as far as what it looks like, where we selected to be, given 2 options, we're just in a walkway on the side of, I think it's either tabletop or PC gaming. So it should be a little bit different of experience. This is going to be our first year going back there after their changeover to the moving the space around. So it'll be, we'll kind of see how it goes when we're there.
Is it at the Heinz?
Yes, still at the Heinz, but it's you actually go, if you guys have time to go to Anime Boston's website and go to the convention information, they have like a listing of where all the spaces are, and the gaming setup is, I can't remember where exactly it is, but it's on the first floor now in the two large areas. Probably the one all the way to the back of the convention space, if I remember correctly. And that's where it's going to be this year.
Sounds like where they used to have the dealers area. Actually.
Out of curiosity, so someone came by on Thursday with streaming, and they asked me, are you in the national? Are you in the national Discord? I'm like, yeah, and I gave him my Discord name. Who was that, and who were they streaming to? Like that?
No idea.
Yeah, we have at PAX. There's a lot of folks who just wander by streaming to whatever social platform or gaming platform they happen to participate with. It can be hard to pin down exactly who and what any individual content streamer might be supporting at PAX without a card or something.
So I think I have the actual location now. It is first floor, Hall B. It's we're right by the console gaming area. So there is arcade gaming still up in room 311. So that's third floor. But we're on first floor with the console gaming and the tabletop gaming. So it might not be quite as loud as what we have been used to. Granted, the past few years, we weren't actually in the actual room with all the DDR machines. They put us out in that hallway, which actually was a lot better for us. So this should be hopefully somewhat akin to that.
That was my main concern, was trying to yell over everything. Even though we did have the captive lines, we could just, oh, you're stuck in line. Here, talk to us.
Yeah, I think that we'll have a lot of traffic where we are, especially with the fact that we're pretty much right across from the Wild Bill's soda stand. So we'll have a lot of captive audiences.
That'll help.
Cool. Well, if there aren't any more questions or comments, we can wrap up our meeting. Does anybody have any final remarks? I know we've lost a couple of people and we're at time, but if anybody has anything final to say, speak now or forever hold your peace.
So for those who signed up for a Thursday shift, are they signing up to set up as well? Like if we are setting up, what time should we be there by?
What Thursday shift for what?
Or Friday, sorry. My brain's still on PAX time.
Yeah,
Friday
AB's only-
shift will be pretty much a setup and work shift. So it's, I want to say that the times, I gotta remember the times now. I think it's 11 o'clock is the actual floor times. And floor times start. The tabletop starts at 10 a.m. Console gaming starts at 10 a.m. So I don't know if, Greg, I think you're the only one who was going to try and get the day off to go in for setup and all that.
Yeah,
I
I'm
can help out
gonna
too.
request that day off.
So
I can help out too.
I guess that really depends on what time, as early as you can get there.
I'll make sure I can get there for floor opening, and there's no sense in missing some of that open time.
Yeah, it's and I don't think that we're already seeing that we're going with a very, subdued setup because we're probably not going to have much space to work with. But yeah, I don't think you'll have much setup time that you'll have to worry too much about.
Yeah, Greg,
just putting out stuff. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was about to say I can send you my number. You can give me a text about the time you want me in there because I live just north of Boston, so getting into town isn't that hard for me.
Okay, yeah, we'll get a schedule put up. I say Sean will get a schedule put up, and then once we know who and what we're working with, we'll create a plan of attack and go from there.
Yeah, for people that have already put in their shifts so far, I've already got them slotted into a schedule, a rough schedule. And I'll try and post that up in the next day or two where we stand, and then final one by Friday, hopefully.
There's a ballet. I'm just looking at the schedule. There's a burlesque show.
I mean, it's Anime Boston. There's a
I've never
lot of-
been to Anime Boston, so I have no idea.
I mean, it won't be quite the burlesque show that you'll be able to see, like, you know, in an adult content type of situation, but I'm sure it'll have some sort of risque.
Oh, just wait until the late evening things. There's a couple of panels that are quite fun.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Well, if anybody has any next thoughts or things that pop into their head or brain after we log off, you know where to find all of us on Discord. So put them there, give us a shout out, whatever you want to do. But thank you so much for joining our March monthly guild meeting. I'll make a note to put something in the Discord either tonight or tomorrow morning about doing potentially a virtual game night next week during ELU. So keep your eyes out for that. But yeah, that's about it for me. Thank you so much for joining and have a great rest of your night.
Good
Good night,
night.
everybody. Be well.
Bye.
Guys.